Hi Fancy fans, this is Sarah coming to you from my studio as it was far too windy for my poor phone to pick up any audio as this was an impromptu intro. I thought it would be a lot of fun to introduce you to my latest video from our Argosy cruise in the middle of Elliott Bay, which is the body of water off of Seattle. We were out there, of course, to see the fireworks coming off of the Space Needle. The Space Needle every year does a fireworks show, and it was too windy for fireworks this year, so that is too bad, but we had a lot of fun anyways. In this episode, we will be introducing you to gingerbread cookies. You can say we were very influenced by The Mandalorian. Enjoy making gingerbread cookies with me, and we'll see you next time. And here are all of our ingredients. Of course, I'll have the link with the recipe linked below. Be sure to pack your brown sugar very tight. And here we have the butter, molasses, and brown sugar. And go ahead and mix that up until it's smooth. Of course, the recipe calls for a stand mixer, but I find I don't really have room for a stand mixer, and I like to do it with a wooden spoon anyway. It takes just a little bit more elbow grease, and I find everything's much more easy to store and clean up in any case. Add your egg, mix that in. And here we have our dry ingredients, our flour, baking soda, salt, ground ginger, ground cinnamon, ground allspice, and ground cloves. And yes, a 1 full tablespoon of ginger. These are gingerbread cookies after all. Go ahead and mix those in with a fork or any whisk you might have laying around. Make sure everything's nice and mixed up before we add our wet ingredients. Presto. Add either 1/3 or 1/2 of your dry ingredients at a time. And of course that's an especial concern when using a stand mixer because you don't want flour flying all over your kitchen. But it's a little hard to keep, flicking lots of flour when you're trying to mix in tough dough too. So I find it's still very nice to add a little bit at a time as you go. Once you get a nice dough formed, form them into little cakes like these, wrap them in plastic wrap, and put them in the refrigerator for, I think it's at least 3 hours. And the reason you want them sort of flattish like this, so it makes it a little easier to start rolling them out when you do. Generously flour both sides of your dough, your countertop, and your rolling pin, and continue flouring as you go, or at least checking underneath and scooting in a little bit more flour to make sure that it's not sticking. There's nothing more frustrating than dough that's sticking to the counter and you don't realize it. Here I have a Boba Fett cookie cutter, and this set came from Think Geek some years ago. Here's the Yoda one. When you press down on the little plunger, it stamps a face into the cookie. It's so cute! And just go ahead and line those up on your cookie sheet as you go, making sure to leave a little bit of room between each one. There's the method of using the angel cookie cutter, but not using the angel's head, and then the angel's wings are Baby Yoda's ears. But I had the wrong kind of angel, so I went ahead and used a small knife to cut it out by hand. And you can kind of sketch this over the top or eyeball it like I did. The sharper the knife, the less of those little crumply edges you're going to get. And here we are, all ready for baking. And we're just gonna continue cutting cookies out of this dough and re-rolling it as we go. And I'm going to cut out a couple other random shapes. Kind of knead that just a little bit so that you don't have too many flaky layers. A nice solid cookie. Here are the Darth Vader and the Stormtrooper cookie cutters. I don't know if Think Geek still has those cookies, but I'll see if I can get a link to it if they do. And just continue stamping and rolling and stamping and rolling. And I found that these cookies that were made out of the dough that I had to keep rolling weren't any tougher than the other cookies. I did not notice any difference. Just down to one cookie at a time here. And your last little bit of cookie dough is your snack. Yum, 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 yum. And now to mix the frosting. So use the confectioner's or powdered sugar, it's the same thing. A dab of milk. I used some spices to flavor it. You can use anything you like to flavor or nothing. I just like to have a little taste in there so you're not just tasting sugar. You can use vanilla extract or whatever you want. And the food colorings add a little bit more liquid, so then you have to add a little bit more powdered sugar. Once you get a consistency you like, put it in the piping bag. I haven't piped a cookie yet, so this is a really interesting experience. Usually I just drizzle it on with the back of a spoon, which works pretty well too. I'm making sort of the Baby Yoda skin color and the Baby Yoda cloak. I think it was sort of a lightish color, actually, as it turns out, but I started out doing this from memory, and then I had to check online to see what the face looked like. Here we just snip a little tip out of our cookie cutter, or not cookie cutter, out of our piping tips, and we're going to outline Baby Yoda. Or the child, as I think it's more accurate. Their little hands holding the bone broth. And you had to look at a picture to make sure I got it right. The little nose and a little frumpy mouth and little eye wrinkles. So cute. And then we'll go ahead and fill in the outline with this color. I don't know if you can see in the picture, but the spices I put into the frosting made for nice little speckles, so it came out with a little texture, which is really nice. Alright, there we go. We got his little hands and his little face all filled in. And now we're doing his little robe. Make sure to get all the little blank spots. Oh, you can see my hair. Oops. Gotta lean in real close to see all the little details. And now we're gonna mix up a black color, which is pretty easy. You just add every color from your food coloring set. Make it as dark and black as possible. And here I'm using a cocktail stick, but you can use a toothpick or whatever you have to hand. And there we go, got his little eyes, his little cup, and using some white to do the little bright spots in his eyes. And made up some pink for his little ears, so adorable, and his little rosy cheeks. There we are, perfect, so cute. And here are my other creations I made with the same colors, and my brother found the candy googly eyes, which cracks me up. It works pretty well for Yoda though. Here they all are together.